If you truly understood the power of your thoughts, you would never think another average one again. Wealth does not begin in your bank account. It begins in your mind. Riches are not the result of luck, background, or talent alone. They are born from thought, desire, and belief, transformed into disciplined action. Every fortune, every empire, every breakthrough started with one thing, an idea, backed by an unshakable belief in a clearly defined purpose. But here's what most people never realize. You don't grow rich by chasing money. You grow rich by shaping your mind to attract it. This speech will reveal the exact mental framework that separates those who live in scarcity from those who command abundance. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes you will be handed the same invisible blueprint that has built more fortunes than any financial strategy ever could. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Not wishful thinking, not vague goals, but absolute clarity backed by burning desire. It means knowing exactly what you want in life, why you want it, and being willing to give everything necessary in return to achieve it. Without a clear target, energy is scattered, decisions become inconsistent, and effort is easily diluted by distraction. But when the mind is fixed on a definite purpose, it aligns your thoughts, emotions, and actions into a focused force that bends reality toward your goal. Clarity creates power. The universe and every opportunity within it responds to a person who knows where they're going. When you declare a specific objective, your brain begins to filter out the irrelevant and zero in on the essential. Suddenly, people, books, ideas, and conversations start appearing that align with your aim. This is not coincidence. It is the mind working in harmony with purpose. A vague desire to be successful leads nowhere because it lacks direction. But a concrete goal to build a business that earns $100,000 a month helping people solve a specific problem creates a mental blueprint from which action can be drawn. Take the example of someone like Thomas Edison. His definiteness of purpose was clear: to create a functioning electric light bulb. He didn't say, "I want to invent something someday." He made a firm decision to solve a specific problem, and then he organized his entire life, his lab, his finances, his team, his thoughts around that one idea. Thousands of failures didn't shake him because the purpose was stronger than any obstacle. His vision gave him resilience, his clarity gave him direction, and the result changed the world. Definiteness of purpose also acts as a shield against doubt and fear. Most people are derailed not by failure, but by uncertainty. They don't really know what they want, so they chase opportunities they don't care about, follow advice that doesn't suit them, and compare themselves to people on paths that aren't even aligned with their own. When you're definite, comparison fades. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start saying, "This is what I must do." It's not about having everything figured out at once. It's about committing to one aim and aligning your resources behind it. Think of it like a magnifying glass. When sunlight is scattered, it's warm but harmless. But when focused through a single lens, it becomes fire. That's what definiteness of purpose does. It transforms scattered effort into laser intensity. It gives every day a reason, every task a connection, every setback a lesson, and over time that clarity, when combined with faith, persistence, and action, becomes an unstoppable force for wealth, success, and impact. Faith, the mind's gateway to power, is the invisible force that turns mere thoughts into reality. It is not just religious belief or passive hope. It is an unwavering internal conviction that what you desire is not only possible, but already on its way to you. Faith is the foundation of all meaningful success because it gives your thoughts emotional power, and when emotion charges thought, it activates the subconscious mind. This is where the real magic happens, because the subconscious is the seat of habits, identity, and automatic behavior. What you believe with emotion becomes the commands your subconscious mind follows, and eventually your outer world reflects it. Faith must be cultivated. It does not arrive by accident, nor does it stick around when neglected. Most people go through life doubting themselves, doubting their ideas, doubting their future, and then they wonder why they see so little progress. Doubt is a corrosive energy. It pollutes the creative power of your mind, weakening your decisions and paralyzing your actions. Faith, on the other hand, strengthens you. It gives you the courage to act, the resilience to endure setbacks, and the clarity to move forward even when the outcome is uncertain. Consider the example of Henry Ford. He had very little formal education, but an unshakable belief in his vision to create an affordable automobile for the common man. The world doubted him. Experts laughed at him. Even his own engineers told him certain designs were impossible. But Ford had something more powerful than technical skill. He had faith. He believed so completely in his vision that he kept demanding solutions, kept financing the dream, kept moving forward until his belief became reality. That faith translated into action. That action brought results, and those results shaped the future of transportation forever. Faith is also the fuel behind persistence. When you truly believe in something, you don't quit when it gets hard. You adapt. You don't see obstacles as reasons to stop. You see them as opportunities to grow. Without faith, the first sign of failure feels like final defeat. But with faith, even failure becomes feedback. Every challenge strengthens your resolve. Every setback sharpens your strategy. This is how faith transforms ordinary people into legends. It gives them the endurance and confidence to keep going long after others have given up. Faith can be developed through repetition of affirmations, visualization, and self-talk that aligns with your goals. When you consistently affirm what you believe, I am capable, I am worthy, I will succeed, you rewire your mind to accept these truths. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It responds to dominant thoughts backed by emotion. So the more you feed your mind with empowered belief, the more natural it becomes to act like a person of value, purpose, and power. The greatest achievements in history were first believed before they were ever built. Every skyscraper was once an idea. Every innovation, every movement, every success story began with someone who had faith, who saw what didn't yet exist and believed so strongly in it that the world eventually had no choice but to see it too. Faith is not passive. It is active, creative, and explosive in its effect. It allows you to operate with confidence while others hesitate. It allows you to lead while others follow. It gives you access to the hidden power of your mind, turning thought into results and belief into reality. Autosuggestion. Repeating riches into reality is the bridge between thought and manifestation, a technique through which the conscious mind deliberately communicates desires, goals, and beliefs to the subconscious mind. It is the method of reprogramming your internal world so that it begins to shape your external world. At its core, autosuggestion is about repetition, repeating what you intend to become real until your mind accepts it as truth. Because the subconscious mind does not judge, question, or reason. It accepts what it is told consistently, especially when those ideas are wrapped in emotion, conviction, and imagery. This principle is both profound and practical. Whatever dominates your thinking, you eventually attract, not through mysticism, but through the natural law of focus and behavior. When you continuously suggest to yourself that you are capable, resourceful, wealthy, or deserving of success, your subconscious begins to align your habits, emotions, and decisions to match that inner script. Over time, those repeated affirmations become deeply rooted beliefs, and those beliefs begin to dictate your behavior. Your confidence rises, your fear decreases, your actions become more bold, and results begin to mirror that new internal program. The tragedy is that most people unconsciously use autosuggestion against themselves. They constantly repeat phrases like, I can't afford that. I'm not lucky. I'm just not good with money. I never get a break. And so their minds accept these statements as fact. Their subconscious gets programmed with limitations. And without even realizing it, they sabotage their own success. They don't aim high, they don't take risks, they avoid growth opportunities, not because they are incapable, but because their inner programming says that life isn't for you. On the other hand, those who understand and intentionally use autosuggestion begin to rise above average. Take the example of Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest athletes the world has ever known. Long before the world believed it, he declared it to himself and to anyone who would listen, I am the greatest. It wasn't arrogance, it was autosuggestion. He said it so often, with such passion and consistency, that it became embedded in his identity. And once he believed it, the world eventually had no choice but to believe it too. His words shaped his confidence shaped his preparation shaped his performance. Autosuggestion works best when paired with emotion and visualization. Saying, I am wealthy with no feeling has little effect. But saying it while visualizing a vivid picture of your success, while feeling the emotions of freedom, confidence, and gratitude, that's when the subconscious accepts it. The clearer the mental image, the deeper the emotional intensity, the more powerful the suggestion. This is why successful people often repeat affirmations daily, write down their goals repeatedly, or create vision boards, not because these things are magical, but because they reinforce mental conditioning. They reprogram the mind to see the goal as already real, and then the behavior naturally begins to match the vision. The repetition of thought becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. Identity becomes action. And action produces results. Autosuggestion is the manual override for the mind, a conscious tool that allows you to feed your subconscious mind with the blueprint for the life you want to create. By guarding your words, choosing your thoughts, and deliberately programming your mind with affirmations that reflect your highest vision, you begin to train yourself for wealth, confidence, and abundance at a subconscious level. Specialized knowledge is the cornerstone of applied success. It is the difference between knowing about something and knowing how to use it to produce real-world results. While general knowledge is broad, scattered, and often theoretical, specialized knowledge is focused, practical, and directly tied to achievement. In today's world, information is everywhere. You can Google a fact, listen to a lecture, or skim a dozen opinions in a single afternoon. But that kind of general knowledge does not create wealth, power, or mastery. Only the kind of knowledge that is refined, organized, and applied toward a definite purpose becomes valuable. Specialized knowledge is what allows an individual to stand out in a sea of mediocrity. It transforms a person from a consumer of information into a producer of value. It's what makes a consultant worth thousands per hour, what makes a programmer develop software that changes industries, what makes a marketer generate millions from a single campaign. This type of knowledge is not always found in universities. In fact, some of the most successful people in history never completed formal education, not because they didn't value learning, but because they sought the kind of learning that could be applied directly to their goals. Take the example of Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men of his time. He wasn't the most educated man in the traditional sense, but he knew how to organize specialized knowledge, not just his own, but that of others. He surrounded himself with experts who each possessed deep knowledge in their field, and then he focused that collective intelligence on building one of the greatest industrial empires in history. Carnegie understood that success doesn't require knowing everything. It requires knowing how to access, direct, and apply the right knowledge in service of a definite aim. Specialized knowledge can come from anywhere. A course, a mentor, an apprenticeship, real-world experience, self-study, or failure itself. What matters is how specific it is, how relevant it is to your field, and how well you can use it to solve problems, innovate, or deliver results. A general understanding of business won't help you build a scalable brand, but specialized knowledge in digital marketing, audience targeting, conversion optimization, or brand psychology could make you unstoppable. The more precise your knowledge, the more powerful your decisions. Another critical aspect of specialized knowledge is that it must evolve. What worked yesterday may be obsolete tomorrow. That's why the most successful people don't just gather knowledge once. They constantly upgrade it. They study the trends in their industry. They test new strategies. They remain students of their craft. They know that specialized knowledge is not a one-time acquisition, but a lifelong commitment to mastery. This commitment separates the professional from the amateur, the builder from the dreamer, the rich from the comfortable. Think of a brain surgeon. General knowledge of medicine is not enough to cut open someone's skull and repair their brain. That requires years of intense, specialized training, deep study, and hands-on experience in one specific field. And because of that rare expertise, the brain surgeon earns exponentially more than a general practitioner. In the same way, the marketplace rewards those who go deep, not just wide, who master something valuable instead of dabbling in everything. What's more, specialized knowledge builds confidence. When you truly understand a subject at its core, you don't hesitate. You act with certainty. You don't chase opportunities randomly. You attract them because people trust your ability. Employers, clients, investors, and collaborators don't care how much trivia you know. They want to know if you can deliver. Specialized knowledge proves that you can. It becomes your leverage in negotiation, your authority in conversation, and your edge in a competitive world. Persistence. The test of desire is the invisible filter through which every dream must pass. It is the proving ground for all ambition, the fire that burns away the weak and tempers the strong. No great goal has ever been achieved without it, and no true success story is complete without a chapter on struggle. Persistence is not just trying once or twice. It is a relentless refusal to surrender, even when the odds seem impossible, even when the world doubts you, and especially when progress feels slow, frustrating, or invisible. It is the consistent application of effort toward a definite aim, regardless of how long it takes or how hard it gets. Desire on its own is not enough. Many people desire success, wealth, freedom, but desire without persistence is like a spark with no fuel. It may light up briefly, but it dies just as fast. True desire, the kind that leads to riches and fulfillment, must be backed by an iron will, a decision that says, no matter what happens, I will not stop until this is done. This kind of desire can only be measured through persistence, because if you're willing to persist through rejection, failure, criticism, and fatigue, it means your goal matters deeply enough to be real. Consider the story of Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He didn't begin his empire until after the age of 65. With a chicken recipe he believed in and a vision in his heart, he hit the road to sell it. Over 1,000 restaurants turned him down. Think about that. Over 1,000 rejections. Most people would have quit after the first 100, maybe even the first 10, but Sanders kept going. His desire to succeed burned so brightly that no could dim it. Eventually, someone said yes, and that yes turned into a global brand known in nearly every country in the world. His persistence transformed a simple recipe into a legacy. Persistence is also what separates temporary defeat from permanent failure. There is a crucial difference between being defeated and quitting. Defeat is a natural part of the process. It teaches, redirects, and strengthens. But quitting is a decision to let the defeat define you. When you persist, you learn to interpret setbacks as lessons instead of final verdicts. Every failure becomes feedback. Every obstacle becomes a test of commitment. Every delay becomes an invitation to deepen your resolve. In business, relationships, health, or any area of life, persistence is the edge that turns average effort into extraordinary results. Think of an entrepreneur who launches a product and it flops. The average person might give up, change industries, or go back to a safe job. But the persistent one studies the failure, refines the product, reinvents the message, and launches again and again until it succeeds. That relentless follow-through becomes the reason they eventually win, while others watch from the sidelines. Persistence also builds character. It teaches discipline, patience, endurance, and focus. Qualities that not only help you achieve your goals, but also shape you into the kind of person who can handle success once it arrives. Because wealth, power, and freedom come with responsibility, and persistence is the process that molds you into someone worthy of those rewards. It strips away laziness. It breaks entitlement. It reveals how deeply you really want what you say you want. There is no progress without resistance. There is no breakthrough without barrier, and the only way through the wall is to keep moving. Persistence is how you build momentum, not through intensity alone, but through consistent, committed effort, day after day, often without applause or visible results. It is the quiet grind behind every loud victory, the hidden ingredient in every overnight success. The power of decision is the force that turns thought into action, potential into progress, and desire into destiny. It is the act of claiming responsibility over one's direction, choosing a path with conviction, and refusing to waver in the face of uncertainty. Decision is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the passive from the powerful. Every great success begins not with resources, luck, or connections, but with a firm decision made in the mind of an individual who is no longer willing to tolerate hesitation or indecision. Until a decision is made, nothing moves. No plan unfolds. No force is set into motion. The universe does not respond to the vague. It responds to clarity, to commitment, to the person who knows what they want and has made a firm, unwavering choice to pursue it. Indecision, by contrast, is one of the most destructive forces in a person's life. It creates confusion, anxiety, wasted time, and missed opportunity. It paralyzes action and breeds doubt. The person who cannot decide quickly and firmly is tossed by the winds of other people's opinions, influenced by every changing trend, and ultimately becomes a slave to circumstances instead of a master of them. On the other hand, those who cultivate the habit of prompt and definite decision rise quickly, because they move with confidence and clarity, while others delay and deliberate endlessly. Take the example of Abraham Lincoln. During the American Civil War, he was under immense pressure from his cabinet, his generals, and public opinion. The fate of the Union rested on decisions that had no guarantee of success. Yet it was Lincoln's decisiveness, not just his wisdom, that set him apart. The Emancipation Proclamation, one of the boldest acts in American history, was not universally supported at the time. But Lincoln made the decision because he believed it was right and necessary. That single decision reshaped the nation and echoed through history. It was not just the content of the decision, but the courage to make it that marked him as a leader. The truth is, most people already know what they need to do, but they wait, they hesitate, stall, and postpone, hoping for perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes. But decision is never made under perfect conditions. It's made when someone says enough is enough and takes command of their life. That moment, the moment of real decision, has power. It shuts the door on excuses, eliminates distractions, and activates energy. Once a decision is made, the mind stops wandering. Resources are mobilized. The subconscious starts working. Ideas begin to flow. The environment begins to shift. But none of this happens without the initial act of deciding. In business, the most successful entrepreneurs are not always the smartest. They are often simply the most decisive. They choose an idea, commit to a model, take action, and course correct as needed. The indecisive person waits for the right idea forever and never begins. In relationships, those who decide what they want in values, standards, and vision attract the partners that align with their clarity. In health, in finances, in personal growth, the pattern is always the same. Progress begins where decision is made. The ability to decide is like a mental muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Start small. Decide what you'll do with your day, what you'll say no to, what standard you'll no longer accept. With each decision, you build self-trust. You start to believe in your ability to direct your life rather than be directed by it. Over time, those small decisions compound. They shape your habits, your results, and eventually, your identity. History remembers the decisive. It is not interested in those who almost did something, who nearly stepped forward, who waited for a sign that never came. The world moves forward because of men and women who have made up their minds, taken the reins of their fate, and chosen with clarity and courage.